everyone. In this video, we will learn about the sinusoidal function transformations. Now, this is the part 1 without phase shift. Phase shift, which means horizontal translation. Alright, so we already learned before about the transformation of the function. If you don't remember how to, please check out the video in the description. Alright, so the general formula of the transformation is going to be g of s equals a times sine b of s minus h plus k, or g of s equals a times cosine of b times s minus h plus k. A represents the amplitude. So when you calculate the amplitude, you take absolute value of a, okay? And this is the vertical dilation. Alright, so when it comes to vertical dilation, you need to say by a factor of absolute value of a. Now, if a less than 0, the function reflects over the x-axis. The next one, we're going to talk about the period. The period equals 2 pi divided by b right here. Alright, frequency is going to be reciprocal of the period. Now, next one, we're going to talk about the phase shift. Phase shift is exactly horizontal translation. Alright, so phase shift is h right here. If h greater than 0, it's going to shift to the right. If h less than 0, it shifts to the left. Now, next one, vertical shift, which means the value of k right here. Another name of the vertical shift, that is the midline. Alright, if k greater than 0, the function shifts up. If k less than 0, the function shifts down. Now, we're going to talk about the value of b right here. That is the horizontal dilation. Alright, by a factor of 1 over b. Now, anything related to s value, think opposite, right? So it can be absolute value of 1 over b. If b less than 0, the function reflects over the y-axis. Now, in order to find the maximum or minimum, we're going to take the midline, and you're going to add absolute value of amplitude, right? Minimum, the midline minus absolute value of amplitude, right? Now, let's take a look at the first example right here. We need to find all characteristics of this sine function, right? Amplitude is the absolute value of 3, right? So it can be equal to 3. Now, vertical dilation, right? This amplitude is the vertical dilation by a factor of 3. Alright, the function does not reflect over the x-axis because 3 is positive, right? So this is not available. The period, we're going to take 2 pi, we divide by b. b equals 2, right? So it could be 2. So the answer is pi. Now, next one, frequency is the reciprocal of the period, so it can be 1 over pi. Now, phase shift, there is no phase shift, right? Because there's no h right here. So phase shift is not available. Now, horizontal translation, because there is no phase shift, so no horizontal translation, right? So not available. Now, vertical shift is going to be negative 5 right here, so it could be move down 5 units, right? Now, the midline, y equals negative 5. Keep that in mind, you must have y equals negative 5, right? Horizontal dilation by a factor of 1/2, right? Because b right here equals 2, so it can be 1 over b, which means 1/2. Reflects over the y-axis? No, right? It's not available because number 2 right here is positive. Now the maximum, we use the formula right here, right? The midline plus absolute value of amplitude, right? So it can be negative 5 at 3. So the answer is negative 2, right? Now minimum is going to be negative 5 subtract 3. It's going to be negative 8, right? Now let's move on to the next example. G of theta equals negative 12 times cosine of 4 pi times theta. Alright, so the amplitude is going to be absolute value of negative 12, right? So it's going to be 12. Now vertical dilation by a factor of 12, right? Reflects over the x-axis, yes, right? Because A is negative, right? So it's going to be right here. Now period is going to be 2 pi divided by B. But B equals 4 pi, right? So this is going to be 1/2, right? Now frequencies is going to be 2. Because it's going to be reciprocal of the period, right? Phase shift, right? There is no phase shift, right? So it's not available. Now horizontal translation, not available. Vertical shift, not available, right? Because the midline equal to 0, right? So the midline y equal to 0. Horizontal dilation by a factor of 1 over 4 pi, right? You just take reciprocal of this guy. Alright, reflect over the y-axis, not available because the value of b right here is positive, right? Maximum is going to be k plus absolute value of a, right? So the vertical shift is going to be 0, right? So the maximum is just absolute value of amplitude, so it should be 12. The minimum is going to be negative of absolute value of 12, should be negative 12. Now let's move on to the next example. T of alpha equals 13 times sine of 4 times alpha plus pi over 11 minus 7. Alright, now we need to identify the amplitude. So amplitude is going to be absolute value of 13, which is 13. Vertical dilation by a factor of 13. Reflect over the x-axis, none, right? Period is going to be 2 pi divided by b. B in this situation is going to be 4, right? So it could be 2 pi divided by 4 is going to be pi over 2. The frequency is going to be 2 over pi, right? Phase shift is going to be the value of this guy, right? Alright, so we need to look at the formula right here. If this guy is negative, alright, which means it's gonna shift to the right, right? If this guy is positive, it's gonna shift left, right? So right here, I just rewrite this one as 4 times alpha minus, right? Because I have the plus side right here, so I just convert the plus side into 2 negative sides, right? Pi over 11. Alright, so now I have the value of h right here. It's going to be negative pi over 11, right? So this is negative. So if it's negative, it's going to shift left, right? So phase shift is going to be left pi over 11. Now, horizontal translation is the same thing as phase shift, right? So it should be left pi over 11. Now, vertical shift is going to be negative 7, right? So 7 units down. Now, midline is going to be y equals negative 7. Horizontal dilation is going to be right here. So by a factor of 1 over 4. Now reflect over the y-axis, none, right? Maximum, use the formula right here. Right, vertical shift is going to be negative 7. at the absolute value of amplitude, which is 13. So the maximum should be 6. Minimum -7 minus 13. It should be -20. Right? Now you always need to check your work. The maximum at the minimum is going to be 6 plus -20 divided by 2 must be equal to the midline, right? So it's going to be -7 right here, right? Because 6 plus -20 is going to be -14 divided by 2. It's going to be -7. So this is right. Now let's move on to the next one. f of x equals -6 cosine 3x plus pi over 6 plus 11. Alright, now amplitude is going to be absolute value of -6. It should be 6. Vertical dilation by a factor of 6, right? Because amplitude equals 6 right here. Reflect over the x-axis? Yes, right? Because this guy is negative, right? -6 less than 0. The period is going to be 2 pi over b. Now, you need to factor 3 out, right? So this guy is the same thing as -6 cosine of 3 times s plus pi over 6 divided by 3 is going to be pi over 18, right? Plus 11. So keep that in mind. You always rewrite the trigonometry function in the standard form right here. Alright, and then you need to manipulate this one a little bit. So it could be -6 cosine of 3 times s. Now, the plus side here, I just rewrite as two negative sides, right? Pi over 18. Close parenthesis. And you need to add 11. Alright, so then you know that the period is going to be 2 pi over b. b equals 3 right here. Right, so it can be 2 pi over 3. Now the frequency is going to be 3 over 2 pi, right? Now the phase shift is going to be this guy right here. Alright, it's going to be negative pi over 18, right? Horizontal translation, left pi over 18. Alright, so because this guy is negative, the vertical shift up 11 units, right? Because this one right here is the vertical shift. The midline y equals 11. Horizontal dilation by a factor of 1/3, right? It's going to be right here, 3. Now reflect over the y-axis, none, right? The maximum, use the formula right here, right? So it will be 11 and 6, right? Absolute value of -6, which is 6. So it will be 17. Now minimum 11 subtract absolute value of -6, right? Equals 11 subtract 6. It's going to be 5, right? Now we're going to check. The maximum at minimum divided by 2 should be the midline, right? So 17 at 5 divided by 2. It's going to be 11. That's correct, right? Now let's move on to the next example. Use the given information to create the sine function, right? So in previous example, we given the function and we need to identify the characteristic of the trig function. Now they give you the characteristic of trig function. We need to find the standard form, right? So I'm going to do one example right here. I'll do example number 4 and I'm going to leave number 5 sit for you to practice, right? So I have amplitude equals 5, so A equals 5. Period equals 4, so I know that the period is going to be 2 pi divided by b, right? So then I have b equals 2 pi divided by period, which is 2 pi divided by 4 pi. So the answer is 1/2, right? Now, vertical shift is -4 because this could be down 4, right? So k equals -4. Now, the equation should be g of s equals this one right here, right? So it could be 5 sine of b, but b equals 1/2, right? So times s, or you can put s over 2, right? Now there is no phase shift, so you don't have to worry about the h value. Plus k, right? But k is -4, right? So it could be -4. Now let's move on to the next example. Example number 10, 11, 12, and 13. Alright, so I just do number 10. I will leave number 11, 12, 13 for you to practice, right? So we have the amplitude equal to, so A equals 2, right? Period equals 3 pi over 2. I know that period equals 2 pi divided by b, right? So then I need to solve for b, right? So b equals 2 pi divided by period, but period equals 3 pi over 2, right? So I divide by 3 pi over 2, right? Now, in order to simplify this one, I multiply the top and bottom by 2, right? So then, this guy and this guy right here cancel out, right? So the top should be 4 pi, right? The bottom it should be 3 pi. Now, simplify this one, it turns out to be 4 over 3, alright? Now, phase shift is going to be the value of h. So h equals left 5 pi over 9. So it could be -5 pi over 9, right? Vertical shift down for units, which is k. So k equals -14, right? Now, we need to find the equation right here. So then, we just plug in the values, right? So we have g of s equals a equals 2, right? Oh, I forgot to mention, you need to write all cosine function for number 10, 11, 12, and 13, right? So cosine of b equals 4 over 3, right? So 4 over 3 times s minus h equals -5 pi over 9, right? So close parenthesis. Now I observe that there is 2 negative signs right here, so I just combine this one as positive, right? And then I'm gonna plus the midline. The midline should be -14, so subtract 14, right? And it's good time to stop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember that if you failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine.